connected with the non-employment or employment of terms of employment or with the conditions of labor of any person. So according to Industrial Dispute Act 1947, they said that if there is any difference or any dispute between employer and employer or employer and employee or between the employees in terms which are connected with non-employment or employment or terms of employment with the conditions of labor of any person, that we call it as industrial dispute. So let us discuss about the types of industrial disputes. Industrial disputes can be classified into 4 types, my dear friends. The first one is interest dispute. There may be a conflict of interest or economical dispute or collective labor dispute. So when both the parties fail in their negotiations to reach to an agreement on the existing issues, at the time we call it as interest disputes. It may be the unions or the workers may be demanding or else must have put on a proposal for improving the wages, for providing the benefits, for providing job security to the individuals, or the terms of or the conditions of employment. So it can be on any of these terms. If people are going to put the demand, it is for their interest, for the welfare. At the time, we call it as interest dispute. The second one is grievance dispute. If there are any grievances, if there is any conflict of rights, legal disputes, or interpretation disputes, then we call it as grievance disputes. These disputes may arise from day to day in the working conditions within the organization. And this may arise out of payment of wages, again, fringent benefits, working hours, overtime, promotions, demotions, transfers, and so on. For example, if we see in the European countries, I'm talking about the 18th century, I'm giving the example. So at the time, the workers were demanding for increase in the wages. The company has said that we cannot give more than this. If you are interested, you can continue your services in our shoe making factory, or else you can find the job somewhere else. But at the time, the unemployment was to its peak because of industrialization. Most of the people have lost their employment, and people were forced to migrate from the rural areas to the urban centers. And the workers know that if they are going to leave the industry, then they are not going to find a job that easily. So they thought that we have to stay within the organization, but what to do? So at the time, do you know what they have done? They could not leave the organization, but they were with the organization, but they started manufacturing only one pair of shoes. So only the left part of the shoes. So without the right part, without the pair, the shoes cannot be sold in the market. That is how they have expressed their grievances at the time, so that the organization was supposed to increase their payments or increase the wages at that time. So people may fight for their rights, whatever was mentioned, all these things, but it's not being implemented. So at that time, if they go on dispute, then we call it as grievance dispute. It can be on any of the benefits or any of the recommendations which are recommended by the industry or by the state. If they are not implemented, then we call it as grievance disputes. The third one is unfair labor practice dispute. This type of disputes are also known as trade union victimization. The most common disputes are attempts by the management of an organization which discriminates the workers on the ground that they are all the members of a particular trade union and they take part in all the activities of the union. Whenever we have some trade unions, they are going to form certain groups. They are on certain issues, and they will try to stop the rest of the employees from going to the office and from executing their work. Or sometimes they may also force the people to join their organization, or else they may also restrain the people or force the people not to join the other unions, and so on. Sometimes these unions may also go for illegal strikes, and so on, my dear friends. So we call these kind of disputes as unfair labor practice disputes, my dear friends. The fourth one is recognition disputes. When the management or the organization refuses to recognize a particular trade union for the purpose of collective bargaining, at the time that union may go on strike, saying that we also have a required number of employees in our association or union, and you're not inviting us to the talks of collective bargaining. For the purpose of recognition of that particular trade union, people may also have disputes or conflicts. So we call it as recognition disputes, my dear friends. So disputes can be classified into four types: interest disputes, grievance disputes, unfair labor practice disputes, and recognition disputes, my dear friends. Now let us discuss the forms of industrial disputes. We can classify the industrial disputes into seven types again. There are seven essential forms. There are multiple, but we have classified them into seven types. Whenever there is a dispute, they are going to show that grievances or conflict in a different way. The first one is strike. We must have seen that when the Telangana people and Andhra people, there was a conflict going on. Andhra people were saying that we want to be a part of the United Andhra Pradesh. Whereas Telangana people were saying that no, no, all our resources have been exploited by the people, and our interest is not being fulfilled in the United Andhra Pradesh. So we want a separate state for ourselves. So there was a conflict going on between these two regions, my dear friends. At the time, both the people from both the sides, they must have used the strike as a weapon. So strikes is nothing but to stop the work by all the workers till their demands are met by the organization. It is a common form of dispute which we find in each and every organization or in each and every state, every area or society. People will try to fight for their workers' right. So trade unions are going to mobilize the people and they're going to fight for the rights, my dear friends. And they are going to threaten the organization or the industry, saying that they will not start the work till their demands are fulfilled. The second form is lockout, my dear friends. Lockout is nothing but temporarily closing or shutting down the industry. It's nothing but refusing to provide work to the employees. They are saying, okay, you're not coming. Well and fine. So we are also going to have lock out the industry for a particular time or completely closing down the business, my dear friends. It may be temporary or it may be permanent. So at that time, almost all the workers who are there, they become unemployed till the issue will be resolved, my dear friends. Lockout is the biggest weapon which the capitalists are going to have, or the which the industrialist is going to have in the hands, my dear friends. The third one is picketing. It is the process of keeping signboards, placards, banners by the workers in order to display that they protest in front of the premises of the organization or even in public. To involve maximum workers in the strike, some union members also stand at the factory gates and try to influence or force the other people to take part in the dharna or in the protest, my dear friends. We call it as picketing. Right now, you must have seen some of the citizens of Hyderabad putting on the placards and standing on the streets. They are taking the slogans against the government's decision of constructing a flyover from TRS Bhavan towards Banjara Hills, Jubilee Hills, this area. And do you know, they have cut down hundreds and thousands of big trees in that area. And some of the environmentalists or some of the NGOs or some of the people who are working with for the nature or for the people, like, they started picketing on the streets with the placard saying that we want this lung space. If you're going to cut down all the trees in the name of development, then obviously we will not have a proper ecological balance. So they are standing nearby the on the roads to gain the momentum from the people and also to stop the construction of the flyover in a particular geographical area. The fourth one is boycott. It simply refers that we are going to interrupt the business process or the functioning of the organization. It requests all the laborers, all the workers to temporarily pull back their cooperation with the management and contribute to the strike. They are not going to the office at all, or else they will stop doing the function. The fifth form is the Gerau. That means surround the people. So they are going to go to the office and they are going to surround it, Gerau it, and they will ensure that no one leaves the organization. No one is allowed to go into the office and work till their demands are accepted by the organization. Even though it is accepted, we treat it as immoral activity, my dear friends. Indirectly, we are going to build up a lot of pressure on the management. We must have also seen that when we had the farm laws, like most of the farmers from Punjab, Haryana, these people have gone to Delhi. On the city outskirts of Delhi, they have put on the tents for almost 1.5 years, and they did not allow any vehicle to move from here and there. You must have seen, or else they must have gone to the parliament, or they must have gone to the state assemblies or secretariat, and they have surrounded it, my dear friends. So Garau is nothing but to surround and do not allow anyone to move either in or out and stop them from doing any work. We call it as Garau. And the sixth one is lay off. It means refusal or inability of the employer to give employment to workers who are there in the master roles. It may be due to breakage of machinery, or because of shortage in the raw material, or else there may be shortage of fuel, because if you want to run your machine, we require electricity or diesel or petrol, and so on. For some or the other reasons, there is no work for the people. So at the time, if you're not going to give the work for the people, it may be removing him temporarily or removing him permanently from the organization, that we call it as lay off, my dear friends. We must have seen the past 1-2 months, like a lot of software engineers have been laid off from the organization because of artificial intelligence. Most of the software employees are not getting a job because AI is able to replace hundreds and thousands of software engineers, which was earlier done by the humans. Right now, the machines could predict and could do the work effectively. So the management wants to make profit, utilize the AI, my dear friends, and we can see that unemployment is increasing at one end. So layoff is nothing but inability of the organization not to provide the work because of various factors. It can be temporary or it can be permanent also. And the last one is retrenchment. Retrenchment is nothing but termination of the services of the workers for any reason. It may be because of punishment, or it can be because of disciplinary action or anything. So for retrenchment, it can be of four reasons, my dear friends. The first one is voluntary retirement of the workmen. Even the government also gives voluntary retirement to its employees. So it can be on medical grounds or it can be anything like. So first one is voluntary retirement. The second one is retirement of the workman or reaching the age of superannuation. The third one is termination. Nothing but it can be natural one, because there was only a contract for 2 years or 5 years, and after that specific contract period, now we can terminate the person, or else continue, or else we can hire a new person. It's purely the end of a contract. And the last one is termination due to continuous ill health. If a person is not healthy, that means he or she will not be able to execute the duties effectively. So the company may incur losses. On that grounds, also, the company may terminate that person. So on these four grounds, we have retrenchment. So we have discussed about 7 types of various forms of expressing the disputes, my dear friends. Now let us discuss the causes and consequences of industrial disputes. Whenever we talk about the causes for industrial disputes, we can categorize them into two categories or two groups, my dear friends. One is the economical cause and the other one is non-economical cause. Whenever we talk about economical cause, it can be related with the wages and allowances, like they are not getting the salary, or else there is no hike in the salary for a longer period, or else they want incentives, or else they want HRA, DNS allowance, and so on. So if it is for the wages or allowances for that benefits, we call it as economic causes. Second one is personal and retrenchment. It is also an important form, because sometimes for no reason also, my dear friends, they can be put out of the organization, they can be terminated. So if you're going to terminate a person, it may be on ego or fellow feeling or anything like. At the time, what should happen with the person? Once you kick him, so for a stipulated period, he will be unemployed, and he will not be able to satisfy the requirements back at home. There will be pressure on the family of the person. So on that grounds also people may go. So second one is personal and retrenchment. The third one is bonus. According to the Payment of Bonus Act 1965, the government has to, the industry has to provide the bonus to the people. Sometimes the industries fail to provide the bonus, or sometimes they may try to eliminate or reduce the percentage of bonus to be paid to the workers. So on that grounds also, because it is a financial benefit. The fourth one is can be leave and working hours. If we see, according to the the Factory Act of 1948, they say that they are supposed to work for 40 hours in a week. But we see minimum, like if a person is supposed to work for more than 40 hours, the extra hours are paid as OD, overtime, OT. That will be double of the wages which are paid usually. For example, per hour, if I'm working for an organization, if they are paying me 10 rupees for doing 40 hours, sometimes the organization may also request the people. Sometimes the organization may also request the employees to work for OT, because they have to meet the or they have to supply the orders which they have received to the customers, or else they may not get further orders to, my dear friends. So on working hours, people may go on strike. In the organization, we have leaves, we have holidays on holidays on religious occasions, special occasions, and so on. So if they're not going to get all these leaves or holidays, even on the grounds, they can also go for. So there must be a question from your side, sir. Leave, is it an economical cost? Yes, my dear friends, it is an economical cost, because it is a paid leave. If you're going on, if you're absent to the office, that means your salary will be deducted. But if you're going to get a casual leave, then obviously you'll be paid on that day. And the next one is violence and indiscipline. Sometimes there may be frustration among the employees in reaching the goals, which through the legitimate means. So sometimes if they're not in getting that, they may be frustrated, and sometimes they may abuse, or they may use verbal or physical force to show their agony or to show their angriness or frustration. At the time, they are going to raise the slogans, they are going to demonstrate. Sometimes they may also use filthy language so that they can show their grievances, my dear friends. Then we can also have certain causes like absence of close contact and understanding between the employer and the workers, misbehavior, assault, abuse, and so on. All this can come under economical causes. Now let us discuss about non-economical causes of industrial disputes. The first one is non-recognition of trade unions. Already we have discussed, like sometimes new trade unions may come into existence and the management may not consider them in the collective bargaining or in terms of representation. So, in order to get their legitimate right or demands, they may pressurize the organizations. So, first one is non-recognition of trade unions. The next one is the most of the uh, in the informal sector, even in some of the formal organizations, the biggest problem is the job security, because most of the organizations are taking the employees on contract basis. It may be for a stipulated time, and it may be continued, or sometimes the contracts can be nullified after the stipulated time. So most of the people across the globe are feeling that their jobs are insecure and they want to protect their future. They want to protect their future of their family. So on these grounds, in order to get the security for their job, they may take the agitation and so on. Recently, the Supreme Court of India, or I hope 2 or 3 days back, they have given a verdict saying that in any organization, if any person is working for more than 10 years, continuously for more than 10 years, those services should be regularized. That is the verdict given by the Supreme Court of India. So some people must have gone to the court saying that there is no security for our job, and we have been working for this organization for these many years, and all of us are qualified as per the company's requirements and so on. And the Supreme Court has given the verdict 2 or 3 days back, my dear friends, and that took it to be implemented across the country at a time. The third one is outside leadership. Sometimes trade unions comprises of workers within the organization, and they may be literate or illiterates. But majority of the workers who are the members of the trade unions are not well educated. That means they may not think scientifically, logically. They cannot think what is best for them. So at the time, the outside leaders may encroach into this organization, and they may overtake the union's issue, and they may motivate the people to fight, whether it's for the betterment of the organization or not, whether it's for the betterment of the workers or not. The leaders, they want to influence the unions so that they can be recognized, they can get benefit out of it, my dear friends. The next one is inter-union rivalry. Within the industry, there can be multiple unions. India is a democratic country where each and every person has the right to start the unions of their choice or the political party of their choice. So sometimes what happens, there can be one party or multiple trade unions, and for the benefit of one organization, they may try to create the help for the other one. So sometimes there can be conflicts between the existing unions which are working within the same organization too. We call it as inter-union rivalry, which may also create the problems for the workers. Then we have the authoritarian attitude of managements. In every production unit, In every unit, the management wants to increase the productivity by making the workers work effectively, work for longer period. At the same time, the units also want to ensure that the expenditure on manufacturing the products to be minimal and the profits to be maximum. So they are going to use the improved technology. They want to improve the technology so that their profits will increase. So mechanization is going to be per day. And do you know how many people are there from bringing the potatoes from the farm field to that of packing it? Hardly 100 people are working, which is manufacturing 30,000 tons of potato every day into chips, my dear friends. So, because they are going to adopt the modern technology, all these things, some of the people may be removed. So, some people may be suspended or dismissed or else terminated from the services and so on. So, sometimes the workers may fight for their rights, for right for their job and so on. The next one is non-redressal grievances. We find in each and every industry, we have grievance readdressal cell. If there are any issues of the employees, these people go to the grievance readdressal cell and they are going to lodge their issues, grievances. And if the grievances are not properly addressed or not addressed at all by the organization or the readdressal committee, at the time people may go on strike or dispute. So all these six which we have discussed now comes under non-economical causes for disputes. Now let us discuss the consequences of industrial disputes. The first one is whenever there is an industrial dispute, there'll be unrest within the life of the laborers as well as the senior management, because the senior management asks the people to come and work and the worker says no, until and our demands are not met, until and unless our demands are not met, we will not come to the organization, we will not work, and we will not allow the other people to also work. So there'll be unnecessary unrest within the organization. Second one, because these people are not going to work, so there will not be production. That means their products will not go into the market and be sold. That means the company is going to incur losses, economical losses there. The third one is it may lead to economical depression with because these are interlinked. Right now we have seen that because there is a war between Israel and Iran, we have seen that the prices of the crude oil are volatile. Because recently we had elections in Assam, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, so on. The central government may not have increased the prices, but in the near future, there are chances that if the volatility continues, then the government may also raise their hands and also increase the prices of the commodity. The same way, the customers have to shell out more money to purchase the same product, my dear friends, because of shortage of the product, because of the conflict which arise within the industry. It is a chain reaction. It is interlinked with one or the other, my dear friends. The poor workers may be the worst to be affected by the lockouts or by the strikes, my dear friends. It may force them to be jobless for a stipulated time. They will not be able to satisfy the requirements of the people. They may be bankrupted. They have to take loans on hand loans on higher interest to satisfy the requirements back at home. It may further push the family into poverty, my dear friends. And the last one is it can also be become a threat to peace and security of that particular state or the nation. So these are the consequences of this industrial disputes. I hope all of you have understood what are the causes and consequences along with the types of industrial disputes, my dear friends. Now let us discuss about strikes, lockouts, and layoffs. According to Industrial Dispute Act 1947, Section 2K, industrial dispute means any dispute between the employer and employer, or between employer and employee, or between employees, which may be connected with employment or non-employment, terms of employment, and conditions of labor of any person. We call it as industrial dispute. Already we read this. Now, what is a strike? Strike is nothing but to quit, work together as a group of employees, or to compel the employer to grant certain benefits to the workers who are employed in that particular organization. According to Industrial Dispute Act 1947, there are certain characteristics of the strike. Let us discuss what are they. The first one is strike means people are going to stop the work. Workers are going to stop doing work. Second one, in order to stop the work, there should be a body of persons, nothing but trade unions or all the people coming together, employees. Third one, such body of persons should be employed in any industry. If people are not employed in a particular industry, they can only show the sympathy, but they cannot go into the industry and join the strike. Remember that. So all the workers must be the employees of that particular one. Then such body of persons must be act in combination. So there must be some sort of rules and regulations which are going to govern the relations between the employer and employee. And there must be a concrete refusal. Okay, so the whatever the set of rules and regulations are there, the management must have refused, saying that we are not going to implement the set of rules and regulations, or else we are not going to give the benefits or provide the benefits to the workers. There must be a concrete refusal or refusal of a common understanding between the workers and the employers. And the body of such person should be comprised of both employer and employee. And the last one, the purpose and aim of the refusal is not to continue the work or to accept employment. So these are the 7 characteristics of strike, my dear friends. Now let us discuss the types of strikes. Strikes can be classified into 7 types, my dear friends. The first one is general strike. In the general strike, the people are going to give a strike notice to the employer, saying that if our demands are not going to be met during the stipulated time, we are going to go on strike. So we call it as a legal strike because they are giving sufficient time to the management to look into the matter and address their dispute or queries, or address all their demands, my dear friends. The second one is stay in strike or sit down strike. The employees occupy their positions in the establishment, but they are not going to work at all. They simply go to the workplace and they simply sit there. They simply sit there and they will not perform any work. They get their attendance marked in the register. They are in the office, but they do not execute any work. So we call it as stay in strike or sit down strike. We call it as an illegal strike because they are on the job, which is being, they will be paid, but no work executed. The third one is pen down or tool down strike. When we had this Telangana agitation going on, at the time we must have seen people working from Telangana side and all from the Andhra side also. They have used this pen down strike. All the white collar job employers working in the government offices, They go to the office, but they do not use a pen, because they use the pen to do all the work. Like, so they are going to keep the pen aside, pen down strike. If the same thing is happening within the factory or industry, then we call it as tools down strike, my dear friends. The fourth one is hunger strike. We must have seen that it is a popular form of strike which was employed or used by Mahatma Gandhi ji, the father of the nation. It is also used as a weapon in industrial enterprises too. When an organization is almost bankrupted, or else they are not going to take care of the workers at all, the last weapon which the workers will go for is the hunger strike, my dear friends. But this is adopted in very, very rarest of the rarest cases, my dear friends. The next one is go slow strike. What they do, beta, instead of doing the work effectively, efficiently, they will slow down the process of manufacturing the goods or products, my dear friends. Because people say that no work, no pay. So these people will come, they'll be working, but the process will be delayed, my dear friends. Then the next one is go speed work. And this is also a new form of technique, my dear friends, in the strike. Um, it is found in Japan. The workers first give their demand to the management, that too in writing, on certain demands or wants, and then they give a certain time to implement these demands or fulfill their demands. If the management neglects, the workers put small black badges on the shirts and work very, very hard, and they also increase the production of the industry. This increased production shows their displeasure against their employer. So we also call it as go speed strike. Sometimes the workers may also work beyond the working hours. So there must be a question from your side. Sir, actually it is the benefit for the industry. No, my dear friends, it is not the benefit. Because in economics, we have the demand and supply theory. When the supply is more, the demand for the product comes down. And when the demand comes down, the price of the commodity will also come down. But but if the supply is less, or if supply is maintained properly, the demand for the product will always be constant or increase. That means the price of the commodity will also increase. That means the company makes profits. Remember that. So too much availability of the product in the market will always decrease the profits of any organization. The next one is Gero, nothing but surround the organization and stop the working and so on. So these are the strikes. And we can also classify strikes to be legal and illegal. Whenever there is a dispute or demand made by the employers, it may be related to wages, working conditions, and so on. If they are going to the authority, give a legal notice saying that if you're not going to uh, address these issues within 6 weeks of time, then we will go on a strike. Sometimes workers may give only 14 days notice period. And during the pendency of any conciliation proceedings, before a conciliation officer, and 7 days after the conclusion of such proceedings, the government may appoint a conciliation officer to look into the matter and give a report to the government so that the queries can be addressed. So, we on the grounds we call it as a legal one. If the workers are not going to give a legal notice that they are going for strike either 14 days or 6 weeks, or if already there is a conciliation officer but they're not going to listen to them, then we call it as illegal strike. And generally, strikes will be prohibited during certain conditions. Whenever there is the matter in front of the conciliation officer, or whenever the issue is in the labor court or labor tribunal or national tribunal, or if there is pendency of arbitration proceedings before the arbitrator, or during the period in which settlement or award is in operation, at the time the workers cannot go on strike. Besides this, according to the Public Utility Services under Section 22, a strike notice must be given to the employer and conciliation officer. It must be placed at least 14 days before the strike takes place. The strike must not take place after 6 weeks from the notice. The strike must not take place before the day either specified by the notice period, and so on. So during this strike period, there may be prohibition of financial aid to the illegal strikes or unjustified strikes. Then we go for lockout. Lockout is nothing but the closing of workplace against the workman. If whenever the workers stop functioning or threaten the organizations, the management is going to have the biggest weapon in the hand, that is the lockout. It can be temporary or it can be permanent. Closing down the industry, it can be temporary or permanent, and it may not provide employment to the people, and so on. So there must be certain reasons behind the lockouts. It can be disputes or clashes between the workers and management. There is a lot of unrest within the industry. There are plenty of illegal strikes going on continuously for a longer period, disrupting the production process. External environment disturbances, unstable government, continuous financial losses to the industry, improper maintenance. All these can be the reasons for lockouts. Now, let us discuss. The government can also prohibit the continuation of strikes and lockouts on certain conditions. According to Section 10 Clause 3 of the Industrial Dispute Act 1947, it empowers the appropriate governments to prohibit the commencement and continuation of strikes and lockouts in certain circumstances. The first one is the government can use ESMA, Essential Service Maintenance Act of 1968. It empowers the central government to prohibit any kind of strike, lockout in any essential services which are considered necessary in the interest of the public, my dear friends. It will publish an order which would come into enforcement for a period of 6 months and extendable to another such period. So during this time, none of either the employer, neither the employees can go on strike as per this ESMA 1968. It can be in public services, even it can be private services, and so on, my dear friends. We must have seen some of the doctors almost 2 years back, they have gone on strike, and the government has used this ESMA so that the doctors will come back to the hospitals and look after the health conditions or treat the patients, my dear friends. It can be in any of the services. And the last one is layoff. It is merely an act of temporary unemployment of workers concerned in the work of the industrial establishment. It is as per Section 2KKK of the Industrial Dispute Act of 1947. Already we have discussed that layoffs can be done or taken place whenever there is shortage of raw material, So a shortage of electricity, accumulation of stock, breakdown of machinery, natural calamities like floods, earthquakes, and so on, accidents, fire accidents, bomb explosions, and so on. So this about layoffs, my dear friends. So till now we have studied about types of strikes, lockouts, and layoffs. Now let us discuss about various methods of settling the industrial disputes. There are four ways by which the employers and employees can address their issues, my dear friends. The first one is negotiation or collective bargaining. In this, both the representatives from employers and employees sit together and they are going to come to some consensus. They are going for collective bargaining and they are going to come to some consensus and address the issues. It is a flexible process, it is a continuous process, and it is more than that, it is a collective process, my dear friends, where both the parties are going to sit together, maintain discipline of the industry, achieve the goals of the industry, my dear friends, through collective bargaining. And they may negotiate on the terms and conditions like which are related with the wages, economical benefits, industrial issues like rights and duties of the employees, the quality of life, administrative issues on all these issues. People may identify it, put it on the table, and discuss on the issues and reach to the agreement and implement them. And when negotiation is not going to be fruitful, the second method is conciliation. In this process, both the management or the and the employees represent their demands to a third party, and they ask the third party to discuss with both the people and give a report which is amicable for both the parties and which can be agreed by both the parties. So usually the solutions which are given by the conciliation officer will be accepted by both the parties. So according to Industrial Dispute Act of 1947, either the central government or the state governments can appoint a conciliation officer to mediate between both the disputing parties in promoting the or settling the industrial disputes, my dear friends. So the conciliation officer is going to follow all the procedures mentioned as per the Act 1947, Section 12, Clause 2, my dear friends. He can go to both the parties and listen to both the parties, gather the evidence from both the parties, and submit a report to the government so that they can give the decision. So he's going to get all the document evidences, my dear friends, to authenticate the voices of the people or the queries of the people or the issues of the people, my dear friends. When the conciliation officer, even that is not done, the third method is arbitration. It is a process in which we are going to have a neutral third person. He's going to make all the decisions which are binding by both the parties. It is based on two types. Arbitration is of two types. One is voluntary arbitration and the other one is compulsory arbitration. In the industry, when both the parties fail to solve their differences by themselves or with the help of the conciliation, they submit the problem or issue voluntarily to a neutral person, to an impartial authority, whose decision is acceptable to both the parties. We call it as voluntary arbitration. Whereas in the compulsory arbitration, when both the parties fail, at the time the government may appoint a arbitration compulsory, whether the parties like or not, do not like, doesn't matter. Compulsory, they have to abide to the settlement or decisions given by the committee, my dear friends. And the last one is adjudication. When all the three methods like negotiation, conciliation, or arbitration fails to address the issue, the last method which is there is the adjudication. It is a three-tier system of adjudication, nothing but going to the courts. We have labor courts, industrial tribunals, and national tribunals, which are going to address the disputes of these people. So first one is labor courts. They will try to address the issues. The person, a labor court judge, will be a person who has been the judge of a district court for a period of 3 years, or the judge of a high court for a period of 3 years, or he has worked in any judicial office for a period of 7 years. That person will be appointed as the judge for the labor courts. And he tries to resolve all the disputes, maybe on the legality of the orders, application of interpretation of orders, discharge or dismissal of workers in a wrongful way, granting relief to the workers, illegality of strikes and lockouts, and so on. So on these grounds, the labor courts are going to function. Then according to Industrial Dispute Act of 1947, Schedule 2nd and 3rd, we have industrial tribunals. The government can appoint one or more industrial tribunal for the process of adjudication. So when new demands were put forth by the employees, so at the time, the industrial tribunals can be appointed. These may be for a temporary purpose, or it can be on a permanent basis, my dear friends. Usually, a judge who worked at the district or high court level for a period of 3 years, or held the office of chairman of any member of the labor appellate tribunal for a period of not less than 2 years, will be appointed for this industrial tribunal. And they are going to work on the issues related with wages, compensation, allowances, working hours, rest intervals, leaves, and so on. They may also work on the rules of discipline, rationalization, and so on. And the last one is national tribunals. The central government may appoint a national tribunal by notification in the official gazette for the appointment of national tribunals. The government may appoint the national tribunals on issues of national interest or on industrial disputes where the plants are established, and so on. Here we'll be having a one person who has been the judge of a high court, or a chairman of a labor appellate tribunal, or any tribunal for not less than 2 years. The person will be appointed for this. So these people are going to do the study, and they are going to submit the report within 2 weeks. Both the parties have to they are going to exchange the copy of statements between the employers and employees, and the opposite party is required to file the responses within 2 weeks from the receipt of the statement. After examining the witnesses, document evidences, and so on, the tribunal is going to submit a report to the government for further proceedings, my dear friends. These are the 4 ways by which the industrial disputes can be addressed. And we need to take certain measures to maintain industrial peace. Have a proper wage and incentive policy, provide proper working conditions, provide welfare activities within the industry to the employees, provide opportunities for the workers to enhance their skills, which may contribute to the growth of the industry as well as for the personal growth, provide recreational facilities, provide the opportunities for promotions, involve participation of workers in management, and whenever there is an issue or any grievance, try to resolve the grievances at the earliest. If you're going to keep all this in mind and implement this, then we can have the industrial peace within the organization. Today, we have discussed about industrial disputes, causes, consequences, type of strikes, lockouts, layoffs, and various methods of resolving industrial disputes. If you have any doubts, you feel free to clarify it, or else we'll conclude for the day. Thank you. Have a nice day, guys.